Hello everyone, this is Wealth Accumulation Channel. Today, we're going to talk about Secretary of Commerce Gina. The background and significance of Raimondo's recent visit to China. Raimondo is 7 years old. First U.S. Secretary of Commerce to visit China. His visit was seen as a post-trade war between the U.S. and China. An opportunity to try to restart dialogue and cooperation. But judging from his formation and speech, we can find out America's attitude toward China did not fundamentally change. And China did not show genuine sincerity and willingness to reform. Opposite sides are using this visit for their own purposes. Not really. Resolve differences and conflicts with each other. Let's discuss with you today. Next, the following aspects will be to analyze the actual situation and impact of this visit. First, let's see what the purpose of Raimondo's visit to China is. According to his own statement, he's here to protect what we have to do and promote as much as possible. So what is the thing he has to do? To protect U.S. national security and economic interests. Prevent China from exploiting unfair trade practices and technology theft. To threaten U.S. leadership and competitiveness. Therefore, during his visit to China, emphasizes U.S. sensitivity to China. Technology export controls will not have any concession or compromise. And stated that the United States is passing government incentives and tax policy to reduce dependence on Chinese supply chains, increasing U.S.-owned semiconductor production capacity. These are what the U.S. is doing to China in the trade war. Put pressure on. And the main means and objectives of sanctions. Raimondo hasn't let up or changed in the slightest. So what is he promoting? To show China U.S. role in the global economy and technology still have a strong influence and competitive advantage and presentation to the U.S. mainland and allies. America still insist on a tough and vigilant approach to China. Will not relax, because the Biden administration came to power. Constraints and supervision on China. Therefore, when he met with Chinese officials during his visit to China, not raised any specific or substantive cooperation proposals or plans, but just raised some holes or superficial topics, such as increasing communication and stability between the two parties, facilitate the recovery of travel and tourism, establishment of working groups to discuss semiconductor export controls, etc. These topics, none involved core interests and disputes between the United States and China. Nor will it affect the economic relationship between the parties. Produce a substantial improvement or impact. On the contrary, during his visit to China, also visited Shanghai Disneyland. This is an America joint venture projects between enterprises and Chinese state-owned enterprises. It is also a symbol of American culture and values. A sign of success and influence in the Chinese market. This is an act of demonstration and provocation to China, intended to show that the United States will not, because of the rise of China, give in or compromise. Next we have to look at China's attitude and response to Raimondo's visit to China. What according to the Chinese? China welcomes and looks forward to Raimondo's visit to China, and hope that through this visit to respect each other, peaceful coexistence and win-win cooperation. So, does China really have such sincerity and willingness? We can judge from the following aspects. First, China's reception of Raimondo's visit to China is not high. When he arrived in Beijing, Only one vice-ministerial official greeted him in the wind when he met with Chinese officials. Nor any formal or grand ceremony or event. He did not meet the most important people such as Xi Jinping or Li Keqiang, senior leaders. Nor did Wang Qishan and others, senior officials in charge of economic affairs. He only met with Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao, Foreign Minister Wang Yi and others. Relatively low-ranking or powerless officials meet. All these show that China does not attach importance to Raimondo's visit to China, nor treat him as able to influence or an important figure who changed the direction of US-China relations. Secondly, during Raimondo's visit to China, the Chinese side topics and requests raised does not give any substantive or a positive response or promise. For example, when Raimondo proposed US exports of sensitive technology to China, when there will be no concessions or compromises in regulation, China just said it is hoped that the United States can relax restrictions on Chinese companies, but did not mention any specific or possible solutions or suggestions. When Raimondo offered to promote travel and the recovery of tourism, the Chinese side indicated that it is willing to maintain communication with the US side, but did not mention any specific or a definite timetable or arrangement. When Raimondo proposed when establishing a working group to discuss semiconductor export controls, Chinese instructions indicate willing to communicate with the US side on related issues, but did not offer any specific or positive. These all show Chinese side not really wanting to work with the US or solve problems, but just trying to stall for time and gain space. Avoid conflict. Finally, we're going to see what did China do during Raimondo's visit to China. According to media reports, China during Raimondo's visit to China did not give up or reduce less challenges and countermeasures to the United States. On the contrary, China in the following aspects increased pressure and hostility towards the United States. First, China during Raimondo's visit to China continue to impose military threats and diplomatic pressure on Taiwan. China during Raimondo's visit to China sent dozens of fighter planes and bombers entering Taiwan's air defense identification zone, hit a record high, and issued the inevitable unification of Taiwan statement. China also blocks Taiwan high-level exchange visits with Paraguay and other friendly countries, and try to win over Taiwan's other diplomatic partners. These are China's. China supports Taiwan's response and retaliation. Also, China attempts to undermine US influence in the Asia-Pacific region and performance of security interests. Secondly, during Raimondo's visit to China, China continued to exert political control and social suppression on Hong Kong. China during Raimondo's visit to China passed a law ban anyone in Hong Kong participate in or support US sanctions against China, and threatened to pursue the criminal responsibility of relevant persons. China also continues to arrest and prosecute Hong Kong Democrats and journalists, and shut down some pro-democracy media and organizations. These are China's concerns and criticisms of the United States. Hong Kong human rights and freedoms response and retaliation. It's also China's attempt to wipe out Hong Kong's autonomy and diversity of expression. Finally, China during Raimondo's visit to China. Genocide and cultural genocide against Xinjiang continue. China during Raimondo's visit to China released a white paper denies any human rights violations in Xinjiang, or the question of genocide, and declared that Xinjiang is a land of happiness. China continues to detain and persecute Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities in Xinjiang, and force them to accept political brainwashing and cultural fairy tales. These are China versus America. Condemn and sanctions response and retaliation for human rights issues in Xinjiang. China is also trying to eliminate the diversity and characteristics of Xinjiang. Alright, let's stop here for today's lesson. If you like my video, please like, share, comment and subscribe. And open the small bell, click all. This is Wealth Accumulation Channel. See you next time.